that?
Control down. There you go. Testing, testing. Can you hear me out there? Yes, you can.
You want me to try to open it up?
I knew you'd be geeky enough to handle this. Well, because I know the Adobe suite, I'm always the IT person at my work.
Oh, I don't have signal. So, how do we go?
Yeah, I did. Keep notes here.
SMA.
Church Hall Internet. SFB Church Hall.
Where
Password
is that? How creative. Thank you. Yeah, it's loading. And then Sunnyside neighbors YouTube, right? Okay, I found the YouTube channel. It says live right now. And it's loading. I think it's there, yeah. That looks like that. So there's probably a little bit of a delay, isn't there?
Yeah, there's a lot.
Okay, sure. Well, I've set it kind of at Cool, cool. No, okay. Hopefully I see myself show up here. Who knows? Oh, there it is. Yep, that's me. Yep, yeah.
If I sign in, then somebody else.
Oh, I can sign it too.
I can try. Still a little cooker, huh?
Hey everyone, welcome. I'm not John Winston, but I wanted to let everyone know that might be tuning into the YouTube stream that we are going to start a few minutes late. People are still getting seated, but hopefully you can hear me. This is a good sound check. If anyone is listening to the YouTube stream and they're having trouble, loud or hello. Hi, how are you just introducing for the stream for people that are online and letting everybody in the room know that we're a little late, but we'll be started shortly. So we got bubbles, and we got co-bubbles, and we got non-alcoholic. It's a perfect trio. Did you like the cuts this morning? No, I like them.
Showtime.
Yeah, it was kind of, the room is maybe half of this room, and but the problem was that some people were saving seats, and they allowed it.
We'd like to get. We want to get started soon because we have a tight schedule before 7 o'clock. Please grab a seat. Okay. First on the agenda. You can't hear me? First on the agenda, we have the volunteers from the Dorothy Erskine group who are now acting as the reading committee. And we have a slide deck, I believe. You have a slide deck? Please sit down. We're going to start. We got a tight agenda. Secretary Cecilia, would you like to give a board update?
I know. Sorry. Okay. First of all, hi, I'm Cecilia, Secretary on SNA Board. Before I get started, please text your neighbors right now to tell them to come to this meeting right now because we have some congressional candidates coming in for Q&A and we want to pack the hall. So please, if you could. I'm actually serious. Because we gotta show up is for Sunnyside in front of the candidates, no matter who you support. So while y'all do that, I will do an update. I was trying to text my parent friends in Sunnyside as well. Okay, welcome. Board update. We have been working on a lot of very exciting things. And first and foremost, we would love to hear back from the residents of Sunnyside on what you all want to happen in Sunnyside, how you want SNA to serve you. So we have been putting out a community survey. I have some mini postcard-sized flyers in my bag right there. So before you leave tonight, if you haven't seen a flyer or responded to one yet, please come by and grab one so you have the QR code with you and you can share with your neighbors. It's really just, if you respond, well, it closes on August 14th at like midnight. And if you respond, you get a chance to win one of 3 $25 gift cards from a business in Sunnyside that SNA is funding. We're buying the gift cards and picking a winner, or 3 winners rather. So please remember that. Upcoming events, we have a lot. Which that's the survey actually. actually. The flyer looks exactly like that. There's a QR code, so you don't need to remember. There's a link at the bottom of the QR code, so you don't need to remember the URL. Yeah, okay. Speaking of exciting events, this is what's coming up next. You can see there are 3 events in August alone upcoming. First, this Saturday, quarterly Clean and Green along Circular Ave. We have some dumping issues along Circular. It's a common for road next to a highway, right? So we've been picking up over almost 2 years now. And I'm actually not going to be here. So Erin is not here. On Circular has kindly stepped up. She's going to lead, but it's the same deal. Public Works provides all the gear, equipment, and we just show up and clean up the neighborhood a little bit. Next Friday night, thank you. Friday night, 7 to 9:30, we're featuring our resident wind musicians for a little night of music timbre at the Sunnyside Conservatory. I think this is probably the latest in the evening we've ever done yet, so go party. Yeah, and I think there usually is a little bit of public, informal, but more for enjoying the music and have a good night, enjoying the space. It's a beautiful space. Right after that, if you're not hungover, go over to Soulhurst for block party. We actually are gonna need some help, so call for volunteers, especially if you have a big truck, because we have a lot of tables and chairs stored at the Sunnyside Rec Center that belongs to SNA that we paid for, and we would love to utilize them for the block party event. There might be other ways to help out. Sarah is really the leader of Soulhurst, the block party, so please talk to her if you want to help out, or just ask what's happening that day. Next, the last event I want to mention, I know it's a long lead, it's more than a month away, but this is the first time we're doing a pop-up market in the parking lot of a Quick and Convenient. I am calling for vendors to apply, register now. We have about 5 tables available, tent, 10-bedded tent, that we can host independent makers. They don't, of course, if they live in Sunnyside, great. We want to support neighbors. If they don't, that's okay too. And on the same day, we're gonna continue the tradition of neighborhood garage sale. So there's a little, if you scan this, it goes to a website, a webpage, and there are 2 links. One is if you want to become a vendor to post up, free to post up. The second is if you want to open up your garage doors and get rid of some stuff to sell it or give away. Then we have a form for you to fill out to be put on the map that we're gonna distribute at 600 Monterey. So people come, it's a voting spot, they get the map, they can walk around the neighborhood and go check out your garage. Yeah, there will be a corner for children, and Quick and Convenient is donating the space. They're not charging anything, but we have costs to set up and all that. That's funded by Civic Joy Fund. One thing I do want to mention is, if anyone is like me who's curious why that taco truck is never open on the weekend, well, it's gonna open on that day for us. And apparently, they're organizing a special menu for that day. Have no idea what's on the menu. We'll find out together. That's it. Thank you. All right, text your neighbors.
Also, on November 7th, St. Finbar here asked me to promote their Zydeco dance, November 7th. And look at our website, we'll probably put something up about that. And Ray, you have something you want to say?
Labor Day.
people as they come in that Connie Chen will be here to talk about her candidacy for Congress. We have 3x5 cards over at the table there if you would like to fill one out and ask questions. I will be curating your questions, but I'll make sure you all get heard. We really do need a truck on Saturday morning. If anybody has a truck, we would love to have a volunteer help us carry tables and chairs and umbrellas from Sunnyside Park down to the Slow Hearst Party. I think we're running a little early, which is good. So we can go to Dorothy Erskine. Who knows Dorothy Erskine Park? I spoke to somebody today who did not know they lived here 30 years. I lived here 30 years, but without knowing about it for a long time. Is anybody who's never been to Dorothy Erskine Park? We have some volunteers here who've been trying to spruce the place up, and they're here to speak and give us a little presentation. Introduce yourself.
Hello?
Yes.
Is this working? Everyone hear it? Okay. Like this? Yes. Okay. I'm not used to speaking into a mic. I'm Patricia. I live in Upper Sunnyside. I guess I'm Juiced Avenue. And Mary. This is Mary. She also lives on Juiced. She's my neighbor. And yeah, John stole our thunder. We wanted to start with just kind of finding out what you guys knew about Dorothy Erskine. So, as background, we are the newest members of SNA's Greening Committee, and we have been working on this habitat restoration project in Dorothy Erskine for several years. But now we're joining forces with SNA, so we can just have more of an impact. So, for those of you that haven't been to the park, we have a map here. You can see it is this hilltop that's just south of Glen Canyon. And then you can also see this is an aerial view from maybe 20 years ago. You can see, there's a hilltop with some open space, but it used to be dominated mostly by eucalyptus. And just to get oriented, the top of the photo, that's north, and the green swath on the top, that's all eucalyptus. And then you can see the houses on Bosworth, just north of it. All right, next slide, please. And so the background is that Dorothy Erskine Park is one of RPD's natural areas, which means that it is, not just your standard park like Sunnyside. It's actually been identified as having some of the remnant plants that were here before we colonized San Francisco. And it was identified as having some grassland plants. So, but modern, these days, the park basically, the way it was known to us is through walking our dogs. It's a very popular spot, and it has a great view of Mount Diablo. But the other thing it was kind of known for is it was known for having lots and lots of invasive grasses and foxtails, which we will tell you more about in the next few slides. But so this is kind of the park as it looks now from a drone view. Some person actually flew a drone over the park, and you can see that all those trees that were on the north slope are now gone because they fell on the houses on Bosworth. So, which was, the truth is, it's actually good the trees are gone, because now what that meant, and this happened, they were cut down, I think, in 2023, is that now the land is kind of more similar to what it was like before we moved colonized San Francisco. It's got more sunlight, which is better for the plants. But so this is what it looks like now. And then next slide. All right. So just for some additional context, SNA has been involved with the park from the very beginning. And you'll see the slide here of the dedication with the SNA's president, which I think he's on the far right. And then, of course, the mayor, Diane Feinstein, and then the little lady with the white hair, that is Dorothy Erskine. And she was, you know, for those of you who don't know, she was an amazing woman. And that's why the park is named after her. And then Mary's going to tell you a little bit more about Dorothy Erskine.
Right now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Hi everyone, I'm Mary Fetcher. I live on Juice Avenue. I moved to Sunnyside 37 years ago. And I just went on a walking tour of the neighborhood. And I noticed the hillside with all the big trees and I thought, what is up there? So I walked up there and wow, what a beautiful park. And I saw the sign that said Dorothy Erskine. Who's that? Well, 37 years ago, we didn't have Google. So it wasn't until 2005 I actually found out. So she was a woman that was extraordinary. She was a pioneering San Francisco civic leader, activist, and environmentalist. In the 1930s, she led the creation of the San Francisco Planning and Urban Research Association, otherwise known as SPUR. I'm sure you guys have heard of that. One of their major accomplishments back then was improving living conditions of Chinatown. And then in 1958, she founded Citizens for Regional Recreation and Parks and saved the bay. She saved portions of the bay that we filled in for development. The Greenbelt Alliance is still a leader in preserving open spaces. And then in the 60s and the 70s, she was a professional volunteer and civic activist, and she helped to establish the Asian Art Museum. She credited for the passage of Proposition J in 1974 that allowed the city to set aside funds to buy its last remaining hilltops. And in fact, this hilltop named after her is, you know, a hilltop she saved. So they dedicated the park to her. Sadly, she passed away 3 years after the park was dedicated to her. So our community is really lucky to have this little hilltop to enjoy nature and the views of our beautiful city. We're honored to preserve it, and I think Dorothy will be proud of us. Okay, back to you.
All right, so now back to us and, you know, why we're here. We're here because we saw there were all these foxtails. We were afraid that our dogs would be injured because they could burrow in and kill dogs. So one in 2024, we just started pulling foxtails ourselves. And then we posted on Nextdoor. We got a bunch of people, and we had a little work party. And then next slide, please. And then eventually we contacted Rec Parks, and we started working with them to host work parties. So you can see us here with our humongous pile of invasive grasses and some of the other work we've done since then. So, and we've just been continuing to pull these grasses. Next slide, please. So the cool thing is we haven't just been removing the foxtails. We've also, while we've been doing that, we've been finding all of these previously hidden plants. Like either just hidden or they were just out-competed in terms of water. So this long list of plants, these are all native plants. And these are, and Mary has drawn this, this photo of some of these plants in the shape of the park. So all of these plants, they were all there. We have not planted anything. And so, you know, if you've been, walk through the park, the past year or two, you might have seen more of these flowers in February through June. So, next next slide. For those of you that haven't, I want to just show you some of these plants. So this is our earliest bloom. This blooms in February. It's called biscuit root or liliaceum. Next slide, please. These are some of our beautiful checker bloom and hillside peas. Next slide. This is in the top corner. This is called soap root. It only blooms after 3 p.m. in the afternoon for one day. So I actually had never seen it before until I specifically went to the park in the evening. And then this is ethereal spear, the top right. And then this yellow, this is really cool. This plant, we've got lots of this plant in the park. At the bottom left, this is called mule's ears. And then we also have a whole hill with these purple blue flowers at the bottom corner. They're called blue dips. All right, next slide. And in addition to the flowers, the hill is also a favorite place for butterflies, because butterflies, they like to meet each other to look for, it's like their dating spot. That's where they like to meet other butterflies. So just a few of them. All right, next slide. All right, so we just wanted to show you some of the beauty in the park, which you may not notice just because you're not there at the right time. And it is kind of out of the way. But we also, wanted to come here to let you know we need some help. We are going to be planting new native plants in the fall, so that's very exciting. We're actually going to add to the plants. And then basically right after the rain starts, that's when we start weeding, because all those invasive grasses, there's a lot of their seeds in the ground, and we just gotta keep on pulling them out so they don't sprout up. And of course, we always welcome, cool garden tools or supplies, because, it's nice to have lots of options when we're pulling those weeds. So our contact information is here. We also have a sign-up sheet in the back, and we have also like a little brochure in the back, so you can pick that up if you want. All right, Mary, do you want to say anything else?
That's it, thank you.
Will you or Parks and Rec be planting any, I know you mentioned native grasses, but I see a lot of bare earth. And,
So right now there's quite a lot of purple needle grass, which is our California snake grass. So there's already a lot of that, and we are probably going to get seed for purple needle grass. And so we're going to be, that's our goal, because we took out all the invasives and now we want to replace them.
It looks bigger now.
Yeah, it is.
good riddance to the foxtails.
Yes, thanks.
So the way it's going to work in the fall is that we have to arrange that with our meeting, because the thing about natural areas is that it's not like DPW, or it's like they're very picky about what gets planted on their land. So it has to be like actually like seed from San Francisco. So that is to be, we are like kind of going to actually set up one day a week, kind of from November to June, because that's really when we need to demand the power to get people. So, we will publicize that. The truth is, during the busy season, we're at the top there, like, every week. So,
So we're, my dogs, and I see they're coming from there all the time. They're putting a lot of time into this.
So actually, Patricia and Mary have offered to step up to reinvigorate the greening committee of the SNA. And this is a part of the reintegration, reactivation effort. So we're getting started, and in terms of like every time they organize something, we'll definitely post on the website and the calendar. But if it gets into a cadence, we can set that as well. I also just want to mention that we were also trying to set up some work parties for Sunnyside Playground. And the bottom part of the playground is really well maintained, but the top part is not. So I'm trying to kind of put the gardeners to. So this is also the previous gardener of the lot section at the top.
We call it Nina's garden, because Fiona planted the natives up there. She did such a beautiful job. It was really cute.
That's great. Thank you.
So, I have been asked to set aside 5 minutes for Tim Weird. Is Tim Weird here? Oh. Would you like to talk about traffic at Edna and Hearst's? That's what I've been asked to provide some time for. Okay.
Thank you very much. So as some of you know, I'm Father Armando Gutierrez. I'm the pastor of St. Finbar. I'm very happy and excited that we're having new neighbors moving in. You know, we've been having this building in front of us that used to be a convent. Years ago, across us on Edna Street, then it became a parish center for a few years. And Reardon High School has been having international students for quite some years. And it's been a very successful program that has been growing. And so they were looking for some space where they could have some more international students. And we talked some months ago about the possibility of maybe using the building here, just the second floor. And I said, then they looked at it and I said, maybe both floors. I'm like, I don't know, maybe I want to use the first floor for something else. And they looked around and said, we really like that neighborhood. We really would like to move if possible. I said, well, now we're talking like 2 months ago or 2 months and a half ago. And the school starts right now in August. So like, well, I mean, if you think you can do it, I guess we can move some things around. And thank God, I had a lot of support from the staff and the parish to actually relocate a lot of the activities that we've been having in the parish center and move some things out of there too. Like for example, sports program, catechism, and we'll work together with Megan, who's the principal of St. Finbar School. So in the catechism, we could go back to the school where it was some years ago, as opposed to being in the parish center. So that way they can start to the parish center for these international students that they will be having. And so now I'll let Jordan speak about the program. And maybe, Joe, you want to speak where you come from, where you lived before, and about your family?
Yeah,
Yes. Great.
Hi everyone, I'm Danny Kern. I'm the Vice President of Enrollment and Strategy at Reardon High School, graduate of the school. Grew up on Alamany here, so very excited to be a part of this community. Like Father said, Reardon's had a great expansion. We went co-ed in 2020. We have now north of 1,200 students and about 120 international students. So we have 89 who live on campus at Reardon. And so we had talked with our Archdiocese and Father Armando a few months ago because we were seeing this big growth and needed some housing. And so we're going to have 18 female students who live on campus here on Edna. And very, very great. A lot of them are returning students, right? They're students who've lived at Reardon for the previous year, so they come back very serious, getting ready for college, a lot of them. But it's not a college dorm. I want to make that very clear, right? This is, there's a lot of rules, a lot of supervision. It's not a free-for-all. So Joe Kopp here, who I'll let introduce himself, is going to be there with his family, and we also have resident advisors who are full-time staff at Reardon who live with students as well. So I'll let Joe go ahead and introduce himself.
Hello everyone, I'm Joe Kopp. I've been at Reardon since 2020. I moved to San Francisco from Portland, Oregon. My entire time at Reardon, I've actually either lived at Reardon or right behind it, so I love this neighborhood. I was telling somebody earlier in the back, I think I go to that Safeway every day neighbors. My wife also will be living with us, and we have an 11-week-old named Colton. So we're really excited to move into this community. It's been an amazing 9 days so far here, and we're really thankful. And if anyone ever needs anything, I know I was told there was a couple different community like group chats for updates and things. Please feel free to add me. We're very excited. It's going to be a great time.
No, students are moving in Friday, Saturday, and then over this subsequent week. So some students are moving into campus now, but no one's moved in yet. Well, one student's moved in. So, yeah.
Tell them to come to the block party.
Well, they're back on third week.
I heard there was going to be an open house.
Yeah, so we are going to do an open house. We're a little late on the appliances, right? We want it to look nice. But yeah, we are going to host the open house. We'll do a welcome ceremony for the neighborhood for all of you who are invited. And Father is going to bless the building for us as well.
Let us know so we can share.
Stan Jang is here. He's from a group called 7-Eleven that's putting on a workshop, Unity Plaza workshop at Unity Plaza. 7-Eleven because it's District 7 and District 11 right on the border. This is Stan.
Thanks so much, John. I'm here to talk about this wonderful volunteer group we've got called 7-Eleven at Ingleside. So I'm actually a resident over the other side of Ocean Avenue. Unfortunately not here in Sunnyside, I love your neighborhood, so it's a great place. But we do want to invite you all out to Unity Plaza. Roughly every Saturday we have a schedule on our website there. This group of volunteers has been doing the Ingleside trash pickup out of Ocean Ale House every Saturday morning from 11 till noon for the last 3 years, and we've not missed a single one. Every single person there is wonderful, and we really appreciate the help cleaning up that part of Ocean Avenue. We decided we should do a little bit more. There's a lot of energy to try to step up and do something. I happen to be talking with some folks at Civic Joy Fund, and they've offered a small grant, and they are dispersing through Ocean Avenue Association to help us do some of these skill sharing workshops. So these workshops will be about basic and also some not so basic skills. You can see up there we had our car maintenance one this past Saturday. We'll probably be doing that one again. It's been pretty popular. There's a bike repair workshop coming up this Saturday. I and David Gus will be doing that one, and my wife Mokta and our other fellow neighbor Inio will be doing a disaster preparedness workshop that is actually at the Ingleside Library. So we would love to see you there. There's a sign up and all of our full schedule at that link. It's also that same link there. That's 711.ingleside.co/workshops. You don't have to remember that. You can just take a picture of this or come find me after this event. I'm happy to share that. I also want to say special thanks to the Sunnyside Neighborhood Association because they are hopefully helping us get a permit for Unity Plaza. Fingers crossed. I don't want to say it's a done deal until we see the permit, but yeah, hopefully we'll be able to do some other larger events there. So if people have ideas on things that they'd like to see happening at Unity Plaza, similar to these workshops or other kinds of community events and get-togethers, just come reach out. I'd be happy to come talk about. This group is trying to bring together folks, between Sunnyside and Ingleside. I feel like there's often a bit of a divide. We have Ocean Avenue in the way; it's a little bit far. We do see a lot of folks from Sunnyside over on Ocean Avenue, and it'd be great to bring people closer. So, yeah, thanks very much. Question, yes. Yes, that is right by the fire department. Yes. Yeah, not a lot of folks know where Unity Plaza is. It's where that big bus turnaround is. There's like a residential building there, 1100 Ocean. But yeah, that's the fire department right there. We just meet in the back corner. It's really hard to miss us. It's usually through the crowd. Very cool. Anything else? All right. Thank you very much.
Sarah was supposed to come, but she's welcoming guests. So I will mention something. If you notice, the Civic Joy Fund, which is a nonprofit organization that does a lot of this. They found a lot of block parties in the neighborhoods. So people like Stan, like me, like Sarah, we often want to do things in the neighborhood, but don't necessarily have the funds or know-how, and they've been really helpful. I say this not to give them proper. Also, if you know younger people or people in general who want to do more for the neighborhood and don't know how, reach out to us to ask us. Civic Joy Fund will gladly help support these efforts. Do you want to have a
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna put on take off my Sunnyside board member hat and put on my transit hat here. And I need to use the mic. Yes? Okay. So, hi everyone. I think many of you know me. My name is Sarah Bars. I am member at large 1 here at the Sunnyside Neighborhood Association. I'm also the leader of Friends of Slowhurst. And I'm hoping to add a new hat, which is I am running for BART board in District 8, and I will be on your ballots come November. And I love this typo because I'm really putting the BART in bars here. There is actually no T in my last name, but that's very cute. I like it a lot. I don't have a slide prepared. I do have a lovely website. Can we click on the link? Is that doable? It's also up in Safari if you just tab to the other tab. No? Okay. You know what? That's fine. That's fine. That's fine. My website's on the browser. It's up there if you can get to it. But if not, that's okay. There we go. So they can make you look so professional on the internet. So I work in the transit payments industry. So for the past 10 years, I've actually worked on first your Clipper card, and now I work at Apple, and I make it possible to use your phone to pay for your transit trip with your device. And I really do believe that I can lend my experience to BART to help get the basics right. That's really what I'm running on. We should have reliable trains, safe and welcoming stations, and we should build a trust with the public to know that BART is spending your dollars for the best that they possibly can. That's what I'm running on. I have some other great ideas, but I'm just bringing my professional experience to my personal and civic life. I'm a big transit fan. I ride BART. I want to make it better. So you guys know where to find me, but I'm happy to take your questions if you have any questions for me now.
Is this a compensated position?
No, not really. It's a volunteer position. I do believe that there is a stipend, but it's a volunteer position, and it's not a full-time position either. The intent is you do it in addition to your regular working life. Yeah.
How many board members are there for elections? The whole board?
No. So it's staggered, and all of the even seats are up this November, so 2, 4, 6, and 8. I'm running for District 8, which serves the west side of San Francisco. The odd numbers, there's only 9 seats. The odd numbers go the other 2 years, and it's for a 4-year term. Yeah, so the districts are drawn based on population, but they anchor around BART stations. So John is exactly right. So Glen Park and Balboa would be in the district of District 8, or within the area of District 8. And that also kind of goes all the way up to the north of the city and comes down the Embarcadero and includes Embarcadero, Montgomery, and Powell. Yes.
Were you involved at all in working at paratransit on being able to use Clipper cards for paratransit?
No, I've not. I've never been involved in that, but I think that's great. We've had that should be a payment method accepted on paratransit, but no, I've never had anything to do with that. Okay. Oh, Stan, hey.
Do you have any specific concerns at Buffalo Park and Park stations that you would like to see addressed?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think in particular, Balboa has some really, so specifically about Balboa, it has some really strangely inaccessible pathways, like a ramp that leads to steps. And you're like, okay, well, this doesn't work for somebody with a mobility device. So I think that we
we need to do a little bit of work to make the design of that station more friendly and accessible to all. But just sort of generally speaking, I think we need to activate all of the stations in the BART system. That's not unique to Glen Park or Balboa. And like, what does activate look like? That means, like, you know, not just pop-up markets, which would be amazing, and we do it in some places, but we can get little stores. We can build them up. In the case of Balboa Park, I think that the development that's right there at Balboa Park BART is great, right? Brings a lot of people right there and right onto BART. But we can do so much to make those stations, those gateways between BART and the surrounding community, to be much more vibrant places where people want to go. Okay, cool. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. My website is sarahbars.com. So if you want to go and read more about my platform, please feel free. Thank you.
We have opposing candidates, but there aren't any.
That's true.
Okay, I was just reminded that Amy O'Hara is here. She wrote an amazing book. And she, I don't know how many of you have ever been on her tours of San Francisco, of Sunnyside. And she's an authoritative author on the neighborhood. And she wrote this amazing book, and she's letting me here, and she'll probably sign it for you if you're next to her. I believe Senator Wiener is here. If you have questions, we've been going with the idea of filling a form, a 3x5 card. If you have a question, then I will be handing them out to the senator to answer questions. If anybody has any questions, we have some cards here. You can also, it's a small group, you can also raise your hand. Why not? Senator Wiener.
Apologize for being in politician drag. Today I just came down from the Capitol, so I'm all suited up. I'm going to be a little more casual. So thank you for having me, and first of all, thank you to everyone involved in the Sunnyside Neighborhood Association. As a former neighborhood association president, back before I was in elected office, I know that it is important and at times thankless work, so thank you for tending to the neighborhood. It's great to be back here at this church, where I've been numerous times in the past. And now I'm here in a different capacity. I'm running to represent you in Congress as we see a changing of the guard and going from one of the most effective members of Congress ever to hopefully another effective member of Congress who actually delivers for San Francisco and for the country, and that's why I'm running, because I believe that I can do that. I've been working with folks in the community in San Francisco, in California, for years to deliver for this community, and we've been able to do so. Working together, we were able to repeatedly deliver funding to make sure that Muni and BART don't need to catastrophically cut service. We've worked and been able to fight the health insurance companies to force them to cover more kinds of treatment, particularly mental health and addiction treatment, to reduce costs and prior authorizations. Working together, we were able to pass San Francisco's paid parental leave ordinance, the strongest in the country, to make sure that new parents can actually spend time with their new child. And we worked in coalition to protect and expand child care funding in the state budget to make sure that working families are able to actually work and earn an income and provide child care. And working together, we have stood up against this authoritarian regime in Washington, D.C., here in California, to stick up for our immigrant neighbors, and to say we're not going to be party to Trump's deportation machine, and we are going to all of these issues, I think, are critical, and we need to take that work national. Because when we look at Congress right now, what's going to happen? We know in November is step one to get this regime out, to get them out of power. We have a good chance of taking back the House. They made it harder with their gerrymanders in the South. But we have a good chance. We even have a shot at the Senate. And then in 2028, we gotta take back the White House. We need to take back this government to save our democracy, to rebuild our healthcare system that they have tried to take a wrecking ball to repair the damage that they have done to our education system, to our system of scientific research, to immigrant families, and so on and so forth, to our international relationships. There is so much work to do to repair the harm that they've done, but that is not enough, because we can't go back to the pre-Trump status quo, and if all we do is fix the harm that they've done, which is so important, but if we stop there, we will have failed, because we have to acknowledge why someone like Donald Trump could come within 100 miles of the White House, let alone get elected twice, because when people decide the government has failed them, when the cost of housing is through the roof and people can't afford it, when people are falling through the cracks of our healthcare system and declaring medical bankruptcy, when we don't have a federal paid family leave policy so people struggle to work and care for their family members, when people have to pay 30 or 40% of their paycheck for childcare, people start, and when people are doubt that their children are going to have better lives than they have, which is the heart of the American dream, that the next generation is going to be better than our generation, people take risks. Like when a scam artist comes along and says, I'm going to make everything perfect again. And that is one of the things that happened here. And so when we take back our government, we can't go back to the status quo, but we have to make fundamental change to make life more affordable for people and more stable for people, in addition to fixing our democracy, because Donald Trump has given us a list of every weakness in our democracy and the rule of law. And we need a Voting Rights Act, we need national, and all 50 states, independent redistricting commissions, and the gerrymander wars. We need to, in my view, expand the Supreme Court, which has become a political body. We need to get rid of Citizens United, the public financing of campaigns. These are all big, hard things, and it's not anything that one person is going to do, and it's going to take time. But I have, throughout my time on the Board of Supervisors and in the State Senate, I have not shied away from taking on the hardest issues, and at times controversial issues, because sometimes the most important issues can be quite controversial. And building the coalitions needed to not just talk or complain about those issues, but to actually deliver. And that's what I've done in my time in public service in San Francisco, and what I will do if you send me to represent you in Congress. So I will stop there, and I'm so grateful for the time today.
I'll ask questions. I have some questions. Thank you for joining us. First of all, some witty topics. So, how was outside Lens?
Outside Lounge is amazing. The question was, how was Outside Lounge? Outside Lounge was amazing. I went on Friday night, and it was not that windy, so I was very, very grateful. It had been a few years since I had gone, and it was just a reminder to me of how important live music is for San Francisco, and it has been going back for so many years. And so Outside Lands, but also all the free concerts and DJ sets that we see at Union Square and Civic Center, Embarcadero now, it's really part of the heart and soul of our city. So it was fun.
Great. So speaking of the heart and soul of the city, since we're in California, right, and you're, of course, San Francisco, but also California, how do you propose to protect the California coastline?
Yeah, it's incredibly important. Trump is trying to authorize offshore oil drilling again, which we thought we would finally move away from, and we have to make sure that we're protecting our coastline from oil drilling. Even though I've certainly had my disagreements with the California Coastal Commission on some issues, the Coastal Commission is really a national model in terms of stewarding our natural coastal resources, and so we need to make sure that we are protecting
for protection. We have a question about, could you outline your vision for public safety in San Francisco?
Sure. When I was on the Board of Supervisors, when I was sworn in January of 2011, and we were just starting to come out of the Great Recession, and San Francisco had not had a police academy class in I think 3 or 4 years, and staffing was just starting to crater. And so my first year in 2011, I worked with then Mayor Ed Lee, and we funded a police academy class, and then we built on that over time, and I championed that, and we started rebuilding the ranks of our police department. And to this day, whenever I can, I love going to police academy graduations and seeing these new young officers, very diverse, coming into the department, and it's really, I think, a wonderful thing. In the Senate, I have worked in close collaboration with City Hall to address specific public safety issues being caused by state law in San Francisco. It took me a few tries, but I was finally able to pass a law on auto break-ins to close a massive loophole in the state's auto theft, auto break-in law that was making it hard for the police and the DA to enforce against auto break-ins. The law had provided that to prove someone broke into a car, you had to prove that all of the doors were locked, which you can't always do. We got rid of that. If you have proof someone smashed the window into a car, that's enough. I also worked with Mayor Lori and with folks in the Mission to deal with the sale of stolen goods on our streets. We have great street vendors with permits in the Mission. They add to our community, they make our community better. And they were being pushed out by criminal rings that were stealing from stores and then selling on the streets. And state law was making it hard for the city to enforce, so I authored a law working with the mayor to allow the city to take action, and that has gone into effect. So we need to make sure that we have a smart criminal justice system. We don't want to over-incarcerate and incarcerate people for too long mass incarceration, where where we're spending more on our prison system than on higher education is not a good thing. We can have a smart system that does not over-incarcerate people, but we have to have good enforcement to make sure that the law is being followed.
Speaking of law enforcement, what are your thoughts about how to address the recent ICE actions at SFO?
Yes, and I've been very vocal about this. Speaking of law enforcement, what are your thoughts on the recent ICE escalations at SFO? And I've been very vocal about this, and the woman, Irina, from the Ukraine, who was a resident of, I think, the North Beach area, works at a cafe, she's a member of our community, and she was recently grabbed by ICE at SFO, committed no crime, nothing, grabbed, and she is sitting in a private prison somewhere. And there are we've learned, other San Franciscans sitting there as well. When Trump ran for office, and we knew he was lying at the time, as he does, and he said, oh no, we're only going to deport the worst of the worst, the most hardened criminals. And we knew that that was not true, and although I was hoping that maybe for once he was being honest, and he was not. And so they have been, of course, gangs of ICE agents with the masks on, and I authored California's law last year to ban them from wearing masks. It's not entitled to courts, unfortunately. And they are roving on the streets, grabbing people. They've done it a few times in San Francisco. They did it in a big way in LA last year, and it's absolutely terrifying, where you have people who don't even want to come out of their homes. Now, then they started grabbing people from courthouses. So people who were in the immigration process, and they would go for their court hearing to do, following the law, going through the process. Immigration is at the heart of what this country is about, whether it was my great-grandparents who fled here as Jews from Eastern Europe and Russia, or folks coming here from Central America or from the Philippines. People come here for safety and to make better lives, and they make our community and our country better. And they are being absolutely terrorized right now, for people who have jobs and paying taxes, raising kids, starting businesses, are scared to come out of their homes. And then we have a system where people go to court, and then they grab them from the court. So it signals to people, don't go to court, don't follow the rules. Well, they were just banned from grabbing people from the courthouses, And since Stephen Miller has said you have to grab 2,000 people a day, they are now starting with airports. And ICE has always had some presence in the airports, but now they're grabbing people in airports, including SFO, who do not even have a final deportation order. These are folks who sometimes maybe they are applying to go from one kind of visa to another, or they have an application in for a green card. These are people who are doing everything they can to follow the rules, no criminal record whatsoever, and they are, we think, using face scanning technology to identify. They're getting, TSA is giving them the flight manifests, and then they match it up, and then they track people in the airports and grab them. So someone like Irina, these are our neighbors, and we have to protect them. And it is terrifying what's happening in the airports. And people who have uncertain immigration status should be consulting with a lawyer before they even go to the airport. And it pains me to say that. And we need to get rid of ICE, by the way. ICE is a broken agency. It's a broken agency, and we need to transfer that function back to the Department of Justice where it was before 9/11 and professionalize it and make it about having an immigration system, not having like secret terror police, which is how it is right now. Yeah, they have very little training. It's a really, that's why, I don't just say abolish ICE as a slogan. Like, it's truly a broken agency that needs to be dissolved and reconstituted in a way that's professional and not about terrorizing people, but around having an immigration system. They closed the immigration court on Montgomery Street. There are now only 2 immigration courts left in Northern California. It can take years to get a hearing. And sometimes the judges have to hear 100 cases in one hearing because they fired all the immigration judges that were actually applying the law so that they could put their cronies in. And so it's awful, and it's one of the most important things that we need to change when we take power back. And the last thing I will say is that right now, when a federal agent, if a San Francisco police officer violates your rights, uses excessive force against you, illegally arrests you, you can sue them. That's long-standing federal civil rights laws from the 19th century. If a federal agent does the same thing, it's almost impossible to sue them. So all these people who are getting shot and murdered by ICE in Minneapolis and in Maine and Houston recently, their families can be very hard, if not impossible, to recover damages. I have a bill now on the legislature to authorize, say we should have civil rights remedies against any level of government, not just local. It should be the feds too. And we need Congress to act to expand civil rights laws to cover federal agents for accountability to end the impunity.
Okay, so since we're talking about a lot of issues we care about and have to know something about at the state level, what congressional committees would you like to be serving?
I got to get elected first. I am in a very competitive race, and so you're probably going to be very sick of both of us by the time November comes around. But maybe not, because San Franciscans understand that this is a really important election. So I suspect San Franciscans will become more and more engaged and interested in the race, and it is important. There are so many issues. I've done a ton of work on housing, and I will do that work. In Congress, we have a national housing shortage, particularly around affordable housing. The federal government used to have a housing policy. Ronald Reagan got rid of it. We need to bring it back and make the there, we need to make sure that the healthcare industry is accountable for actually providing affordable care. And so it'll go to the MAC to expand healthcare access. So a lot of different great interests. So I'll be happy with whatever committee.
Has there been any conversation about states working together, sharing, exchanging resources to repair them? Oh, sorry.
One of the issues that it seems is in states are very big. Maybe because they're used to it, maybe because they did something that and I know that sometimes mayors will get together, or governors will get together and discuss steps that they can take and follow toward a mutually beneficial goal. And I keep wondering if we start waiting for permission from central government to do things and start trading resources or trading spaces or like we know how to revitalize trees so we go to another state and how we build up to fire.
Yeah, absolutely, and that does happen. So we, at the state level, now, we work regularly with legislators from other states. The governors work together. I know Governor Newsom, absolutely. And our Attorney General Rob Bonta partner with other states. Sometimes you'll see 10 states suing the Trump administration together. So there's a lot of collaboration. I've done a lot of collaboration. I've done a lot of work around regulating AI, particularly for safety. And so we have a network of a few California legislators, but legislators in New York, Illinois, Massachusetts, a few other states, where we stay in close contact and we compare notes. And we sometimes, with permission, borrow ideas from each other. I passed California's AI safety law. It was a huge fight with big tech, and we got it passed. And now New York then basically cut and pasted our law and made it a little bit better. Then Illinois cut and pasted and made it a little bit better. And now we're going to want to catch up with Illinois. And so it's been really actually rewarding. We do that on climate too. We have a federal government, as we do now, that's so hostile to climate action. We've already done this, like California, Oregon, and Washington State, along with Quebec, have worked together on various climate strategies. And so I think we want to do everything in our power to turn the federal government around and make it a federal government that believes in healthcare, that believes in science, that believes in climate action, but we also need state action. And the one last thing I'll say is Trump has been taking a wrecking ball to the federal science agencies and cutting science funding. I mean, I don't like the idea that science is now partisan and they're cutting cancer and Alzheimer's research. I've been working with a coalition in California to put a bond on the ballot to fund and create a scientific research institute in California. And we want to bring it back federally, but California needs to lead as well. So state action is really important.
I guess this is less of a, well, it is a question. Will you come, and the last one, will you come to our Mardi Gras dance at San Fin Bar on November 7th? Party start,
Yeah.
party end.
Yes. How's that? Yes. And Halloween too, I think.
Yes, yes.
Okay, thank you so much, everyone. I appreciate it. My website is just easy, scottwiener.com, ID4E, and Wiener like the old grammar rule. So thank you so much, everyone. Good to see you all.
And now welcome to the Supervisor Connie Chang. Sorry, I know you just arrived. Do a Q&A. Yeah.
Thank you so much for having me. My name is Connie Chan. I'm currently a member of the San Francisco Board of Supervisors. I first ran for the office and took office in 2021 and re-elected in 2024. I've been the city's budget committee chair for the last 4 years now, and I've been also on the member on the budget committee starting 5 years ago. Been very proud to have been serving in San Francisco, though long before I became a supervisor, almost 20 years in city government. Been a legislative aide to Supervisor Sophie Maxwell, Supervisor Aaron Peskin, as well as our district attorney, Kamala Harris, when she was our DA then. Working in different city departments like Breckenridge Park, City College of San Francisco. And before I ran for office, I was also a legislative aide to then State Assembly member Kevin Mullen in San Mateo County, and then now he's a Congress member for District 15 for the San Mateo County. So, but at the same time, that while I hold this office, last year, when Speaker Nancy Pelosi decided not to run for re-election, we look around and say, what is it that we will need now in San Francisco? I think that many of us, even though we may not always see eye to eye with Speaker Nancy Pelosi, or that in 100% agreement with her, she has represented us very, very well in Washington, D.C. And that and when she decided not to run for re-election, I think that for many of us, myself included, looked around and say, what is it that we have to do in San Francisco to make sure that we still continue to have a voice in Washington, D.C., and that working people in San Francisco still be able to have a voice in Washington, D.C. So we decided that we jump in the race because we know that for the work that we have done in San Francisco, we can build that coalition, and we've been building that coalition, the Working People's Coalition, and we can bring that to Congress and be successful. I was born in Hong Kong and went to grade school in Taiwan, a first-generation immigrant, and came to San Francisco's Chinatown when I was 13 years old with my single mom and a younger brother. Our family, thanks to San Francisco, was able to take root. Thanks to San Francisco's values, that we were able to take root and thrive and have built a new life here. We live in a rent control apartment. We have good, my brother and I, we had good public education. There's so much about San Francisco that allows someone like me to be able to not only take root and be able to thrive and be able to run for office and now raising my own family here in San Francisco. My partner is a firefighter in the city. We're raising our 13-year-old son in outer Richmond. I'm just really grateful to be able to be in this space. And we want to make sure that every San Francisco working families, just like my family, my mom and my brother and I, and now with my partner, that have that opportunity to truly be able to thrive and be able to live in San Francisco, and that not just for our families, but many generations to come. So I know that there's also questions for me, so I want to make sure I leave time for those questions. Thank you.
First question, we're a party group, so how was outside land?
For outside land, I think that for those of us, I'm glad that, people do enjoy outside lands. And that's including, people live in the Richmond too, that there are people who go to outside lands. But I do want to say that there are also the reality of outside lands for those who live on the west side. It is traffic, it is noise, and that there's got to be a mitigation. I think it's not so much the outside land that is difficult sometimes for residents. I actually think it's the before and the after. The before of putting up the fence, and then now it's like blocking the roadway. You have to actually reroute during the week when you actually try to go to work and go, to do different things. I know that's been challenging, so I appreciate everybody's patience. We're trying to make it work, and I say we, I mean, SFMTA, I think the mayor and his team, everybody is trying to work on it and making sure that it could work better. So I welcome all the feedback. I can't really quite remember memorizing the hotline, but 311 always works. So.
first question, real question. Also lands by the coast, how do you propose to protect the California coastline?
Thank you for that question. I think California coastline right now is facing a challenge. We have a resolution, and we have a resolution actually at the Board of Supervisor. We understand the Trump administration is right now issuing license and permits for offshore drilling. It is a challenge for all of us. And we really want to encourage everybody here to submit public comments, and the deadline is August 22nd. We want to be able to stop the Trump administration for offshore drilling. It is a moment also for San Francisco to bring that voice back in Washington, D.C. and holding the Trump administration accountable and making sure that we don't damage our coastline. And look, Trump administration also have rolled back the EPA and many other initiatives. That's also inclusive of, for our port, San Francisco port, by the way, they rescinded $20 million for actually wind farm for our port to be able to implement some of those work. We absolutely have to fight back, and we absolutely have to make sure that Congress actually really asserts its power oversight for the executive branch, and to be able to bring that Trump administration to those hearings and subpoena those documents and holding them accountable.
That was about protection of the land and now protection of people. Can you outline your vision for public safety in San Francisco, and maybe since you served on the supervisors, board of supervisors, what policies you have introduced or initiated on that?
Of course, as budget committee chair, I think that what we have done is we hold our law enforcement agency accountable. At the same time, we do fund them. And we have to say, for example, I'm going to give an example about our police department. Our police department started out when I was budget committee chair at $650 million of an annual budget. And during that time, though, we did actually hold them accountable for the $25 million of overtime spending that they spent. We weren't sure how to spend that $25 million. We make sure that we have a hearing, and when we realize that they overspent their budget by $25 million, we make sure we work with the controller to actually make not just the police department, actually all law enforcement agencies, including the sheriff's department and all law enforcement agencies, to submit a quarterly report about their overtime spending. We know that they are short-staffed, but we want to understand that we need to appropriate funding to meet the mandate and not overspend. And so with that, the last 4 years, you do see the police department has increased their spending to date, that they're about $850 million of annual spending for the police department to meet the demands and the needs of staffing. Their overtime spending has gone under control, which is a good thing. But we also know that they need to utilize technology, of course, with the respect to surveillance technology as well, to respect the privacy concerns. And so it's a balanced approach to public safety. We do see that crime rate drops with the investments, but we also see that we need to continue to have oversight. But I think that public safety is actually so much more than law enforcement. It is about investments also in our fire department. We have investments in making sure our fire department have a new fire trucks and new apparatus. They're actually up to 50 years old. It is time for making sure that our fire department actually is ready to go. And we need to continue to investments in safety net services and resources so that San Franciscans, the most vulnerable, still actually have access to healthcare, access to food security, and those are actually, and housing and shelters, and those are actually key elements to keeping our community safe. Therefore, in the federal level, I think that we have to do the same. And I do want to put the key elements about the federal level about safety, though. It's about immigration. It is time for immigration to have meaningful reform, because what we are seeing, what the ICE agents are doing right now, not just outside of California, outside of California, but also in California, including in our SFO in our airport. It is unacceptable for them to illegally detain individuals. We need to do more, and that's also part of the public safety that, in my opinion, in Congress, we need to hold ICE agents accountable and to actually have meaningful immigration reform.
I think you should read my cue cards, because the next one is going to be about ICE. So, can you say a little more about that?
I'm going to tell you this about ICE, and this is a very challenging time. I was on Chinese radio just a couple of days ago, or last week, Friday, and that the call came in is a mother who was going to the airport waiting for her daughter to arrive, and she was in the airport. She is a green card holder, and as her daughter, as she was waiting for her daughter to arrive, and there's ICE agents actually approached her right at the airport and asking her for her ID. She does have ID. She has like legal documentations. She is a green card holder, except her ID, as some of you may not, I don't have that, but some of you may have done it, is to move your driver's license or your California ID onto your phone. So it's your electronic ID. So she shows them that, look, I have my California ID. And then the ICE agent said, federal government, we do not recognize that. We want to see your ID. So she panicked and she doesn't know what to do. But luckily her daughter arrived, and her daughter said, well, Mom, let me go home first, and because they were holding her. But they're not detaining her because they can't. Legally, they cannot just detain her. So they were just staying with her at that area. In publicly at SFO, as her daughter was driving home and to try to dig all through her belongings and find our hard copy of the ID and go back and say, look at this hard copy of the ID. That is a problem that we're dealing with even in San Francisco, and that is unacceptable. And it's the reason why in Congress it's not just about withholding funding for ICE. It's not just making sure that ICE agents wear body camera. It is actually a truly meaningful reform to immigration. In San Francisco, we've been a sanctuary city for a long time, and I think sometimes we're very blessed, but we also live in this bubble and not thinking about that border states, that why are they so gung-ho, and they were like, we need to crack down on immigration. And we're allowing this false narrative that you either crack down on immigration or you cannot be safe. The reality is you can have immigration reform and investments in immigration, in helping people to a pathway to citizenship and helping them to become citizens of the United States and be able to contribute to our economies, which they have been, immigrant community been contributing to our economy. At the same time, you can have border control, you can have safety. People who commit crime should be held accountable. And it doesn't matter whether they're citizen or immigrants. If you commit a crime, you should be held accountable for the crime that you commit. But that doesn't mean that all immigrants are criminal. To having that narrative, that false narrative, is what is dangerous to all of us. And so we're here. We're going to bring that sanctuary city values from San Francisco to Washington, D.C., and to make sure that they understand to have meaningful immigration reform is not at the expense of public safety. We can have both. In fact, we are safer when we make sure that there is investment in our immigrant community.
Next question is about, besides protecting people, how do you think housing, daycare, and groceries also affordable for them?
Overall, it is a affordability crisis that we are facing. And the first and foremost, I do believe healthcare is actually the biggest cost and the most burdensome cost of all households, no matter where you are and who you are and your condition. And let alone the fact that if you actually end up having someone who have a condition and kids and they're trying to get vaccination and you've got to have medication or be at an EpiPen, those are the costs that every family and every household has to face, and healthcare is part of that. People shouldn't have to choose between healthcare and food on their table, and that is why we want to expand Medicaid coverage. We want to maintain that coverage, the so-called big ugly bill, the one beautiful bill that Trump has, cutting people's premiums, subsidies is unacceptable. We need to reverse those cuts. Affordable childcare, fully funded K through 12 classroom, and free city college. Again, these are actually fundamentals that will really help people be able to afford a better life with life skills and better skills. Free city college will allow people to have access to higher education and workforce and training. These are the things that we can absolutely help people to for a better future, to have a better future. But ultimately, at this moment, Congress needs to end the wars in Iran and around the world. It is unacceptable for Trump to spend $1.5 trillion on defense and on wars when our people are actually not having access to healthcare, not having access to food security, and not having access to good public education, and that we are going to face a crisis with our Social Security. We know that in the next 5 years that Congress has to solve the problem for Social Security, because if we don't, that down the road there will be a whole new generation who, even though they pay into it, they will not be able to have Social Security. Those are the problems that we in Congress need to face, and not only that, focus to solve, not to allow Trump to start another war.
3 minutes or so to a one and a half questions. Yeah, no, you're. This is a question that was asked earlier too about states working together in face of federal government doing. Sorry. Oh.
I just wonder what happened to my question.
Actually, could you add context to your question again? We were asking that, but I think you do a better job than me.
Essentially, the question that I had is, we keep waiting for permission from the federal government to do things to help states when it's possible for states. It's work being done for states to help each other. So, for example, if we have in California a particular skill set related to primary education success, are we sharing it with Nevada or Montana or Texas, so that while the chaos is going on in DC, below the radar, we are able to work and collaborate with each other so that when the drama is finally over, we can say it's not that there's nothing to fix, but we are in better shape than we would have been had each other.
Yeah, and I think this is where the Trump administration, in my opinion, the most problematic. Instead of, I'm going to give an example, for example, like FEMA. FEMA should really not be a political issue. If you have a disaster, if you're in New Orleans, if you're in the red states or blue states, and wildfire in LA, we all should be able to get FEMA assistance no matter what. And as a California, yes, we may be paying more taxes than other people, but we will support no matter what the FEMA, how it actually distributes. We will make sure, in fact, when Hawaii had the fire in Maui, we in California sent our firefighters, San Francisco sent our firefighters to support. We do mutual aid all the time, and it doesn't matter, and it shouldn't matter whether you're in the blue states or the red states. But the Trump administration, I can tell you this though, this is why they're so problematic, is that they are dividing us. They will withhold child care funding for the blue states, and then try to give more to the red states. That is not helpful. It creates this dynamics among the states that we cannot really come together and share resources. But I think that we are doing the best we can in California, and especially coastline along with Washington State and other states, to say how can we, in terms of FEMA or however other type, if need be, to share those mutual aids. If I can also answer this question in a different way too, though, is that when there are federal governments, when we see that there is a challenge with courts, like legal challenges, I can tell you that attorney generals across different states will come together and join lawsuits against the administration to fight for resources, for making sure that each state actually get the kind of resources that we need and deserve, and rightly deserve. And so there is some collaboration but it's not enough when there's an executive branch that purposefully try to divide us.
Thank you, Supervisor Chen. Last question is, will you come to the Mardi Gras party here?
No, that's not the last question, I'm
November
sorry,
7th.
you
We're
sent
gonna
so
have
many
one.
questions. Mine was the very first question turned in, and you seem to not like it.
Which one? Sorry. Please ask.
My question for Connie was, your opponent consistently voted against tenants' rights when he was a supervisor and since. However, I want to know, your website mentions making sure that investment, private equity doesn't continue to ravage the market. How do you see this being achieved? I think it's a great goal, personally.
Yeah, I mean, it is true that private equity fund is buying up residential properties, and that in the Road to Housing Act, which just passed in Congress, there was actually a specific clause to prevent private equity fund like BlackRock to be able to buy up residential properties, specifically single-family homes. Then they can like buying them in whole block and demolish them and build. And so that clause so specifically was taken out. It is something that I think we absolutely need to go back and continue to push to ban private equity. In fact, if you hear, Trump actually has said that too, that he supports that, but he never delivers on what he says he supports. It only sounded good. We absolutely need to go back in Congress and actually allow, like, to actually push on private equity. I would say also is to it's not only banning, but it's really regulate specifically, because I understand that at times that, you know, if people want to be able to sell, they should be able to sell. That's part of the problem. But to be able to regulate them, not to wholesale and buy a whole block, which by the way, is happening in San Francisco. If you don't think it's happening in San Francisco, it's happening in San Francisco that people are buying the entire block. But how can we regulate it? How can we make sure that we be able to push back and allowing to have local inputs and community inputs, and also protection for people and small business from displacement is what we've been doing and trying to do this fight in San Francisco. And I want to leave you this final thought, if I may, because I think that ultimately, again, is that we want to send a representative from San Francisco with the understanding that, be it on the state level or the federal level, the respect of local control and the empowerment of our neighborhoods. We need someone, anyone, like representing us from a federal level, from a state level, to say that San Francisco, any jurisdiction, any cities across the country should be able to have a say of what is in your neighborhood, be it around housing, be it around transit, be it around how you want to govern. As soon as you lose that framework and respect for local control on a federal level, I think it's a very dangerous place for us to be. And because if you put Trump into that space, think about what will happen. And so sort of this argument of saying like we should just allow state government or federal government to come in and that to control how they fund us and how they provide the funding is actually what Trump is doing to us. And we should reject that framework. We should reject the approach. The approach should be, how does federal government, how does state government, but in this case, federal government, how does the federal government help us to build infrastructure? How does federal government fund us for our needs and around healthcare, around public education? How does federal government fund us to homeowners to be and tenants to be able to like stay in their homes, and not to say to sort of punitive approach. It's like we need you to build, we need you to do this, and we need you to do that in order for you to receive the funding that we deserve and support that we deserve. And that kind of goes back to the private equity issue ultimately, is that federal government should be actually helping people who are currently our tenants, homeowners, to be able to stay housed and build more homes with infrastructure support, not the other way around, and allowing private entity to take over. And yes, I want to come to all your activities.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
get up and leave yet because we have a raffle. We have 3 bottles. We have a bottle of Martinelli's, a bottle of champagne that has alcohol, and another bottle of champagne that don't. So, it doesn't seem like this. I have to make some. Who has ticket number 176610? 176610. Going with what? 176610. 176610. Okay. That one goes in my pocket. 176621. 21. Anybody have 21? 1677. 176621. I'll give you the choice: the Martinelli or the Chandon or Aldiano. Not sure what that is. It's French, it's fancy. Congratulations. Okay, the next one is for, this next one is going to be for the Aldiano. 176629. There you go. Oh, it's Chardonnay. It's not champagne, but it does have. All right, congratulations. The last one, drum roll. There we go. 176628 for the Martinelli. 176628. It's Bob. You can drink this in the morning. Thank you. All right, class dismissed.
That makes sense.